While the United States may be the most powerful country in the world, China may soon step ahead. That's because China's Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, could easily make it the wealthiest nation on the planet. So today, we're going to be telling you what it is, why it is a threat, and what the United States will need to do to stop it. Put simply, the BRI is a massive development plan that will build up the economies of countries across Asia, Africa, and Europe. And when we say massive, we really mean it, as the plan is slated to cost over $1 trillion and will be completed by 2048. Now, the BRI is split into a series of land-based and ocean-based projects, and while they are all different, they have 5 shared goals. 3 of them are economic goals. The first is facilities connectivity. These include things that connect different markets, such as roads, pipelines, railways, and ports. The second is unimpeded trade. These are free trade areas that are divided into corridors, and each corridor connects poor, resource-wealthy areas such as Southeast Africa, Central Asia, and Siberia to more financially wealthy areas such as Europe and China. These are all tied together by the third goal, which is financial integration. This is achieved by mandating that these free trade areas use China's official currency, the Yuan. The fourth goal is cultural. Known as people-to-people bonds, this represents the spread of Chinese culture worldwide. This is being done through initiatives such as student exchanges and Chinese scholarships. The fifth goal, and easily the most controversial, is political integration. This is the idea that countries will fall in line with China's policies and will not oppose it on the world stage. Given that the United States and China are typically at odds with one another, this has led to some sticky situations. Now, the way in which China goes about these goals is by making cash-strapped countries offers that they cannot refuse. Typically, they will loan poorer nations billions of dollars to build things like ports and railroads. China knows very well that most of these countries don't have the ability to repay, and so when they default on their loans, China swoops in. One of the prime examples of this in action comes from Sri Lanka. You see, when Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa wanted to expand the Hambantota port, Western creditors refused. After all, most experts believed that the port would not drive enough traffic to justify the cost. But China saw this as an opportunity. They agreed to hand over $8 billion in funding to the country, and when Sri Lanka officially opened it in 2010, it absolutely flopped. In fact, it flopped so badly that despite tens of thousands of ships passing by it every year, in 2012, only 34 bothered to dock in its harbor. This colossal screw-up was not all that popular, and so in 2015, Rajapaksa was kicked out of office. But by then, the damage was already done. Sri Lanka could not afford to pay back the Chinese, and so they had no choice but to accept a humiliating offer. China would take an 85% stake of the port on a 99-year lease and would also occupy 61 square kilometers of land around it. In exchange, China agreed to waive about 14% of Sri Lanka's loans. The end result? Sri Lanka is swimming in debt, while China got what they really wanted all along: a Chinese territory just a few hundred kilometers away from their arch enemy, India. But Sri Lanka isn't the only country in this situation, for be it the Kiakpiu port in Myanmar, the Malacca Deepwater port in Malaysia, or the Doralay port in Djibouti, in each case, China has taken a massive percentage of port revenues in exchange for a little bit of debt relief. In every case, the citizens on the ground were not all that happy. Yet, because the funding from the BRI is so large, these poor but democratic countries are willing to silence protesters and shut down their own people in order to get those sweet development dollars. This trading of sovereignty for cash has even spread to wealthier countries. A perfect example is Greece, who after facing severe EU restrictions chose to sell off 67% of its largest port to the Chinese. Therefore, it's clear that the BRI has spread its wings far and wide. But in all honesty, all of this wouldn't be too big of a problem if these takeovers were only economic. Yet, what makes the BRI so dangerous is its political implications. You see, because the Chinese have such a large stake in the economies of these countries, they are pressured to fall in line with Chinese policy. One of the best examples of this can be seen with the genocide of Uyghur Muslims in China. Now, across the Western world, the genocide has been condemned. However, BRI countries such as Greece, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia have stayed silent. It should be remembered that these countries used to be allies of the United States, and just a few years ago would have condemned the slaughter of millions of innocent Muslims. Yet, now that they are being financed by China, they do not dare to do so. So, what does this mean for the United States? In short, it should be a wake-up call. If the United States wants to be a world leader, they have to play the part. That means that rather than be protectionist and block off trade with the rest of the world, they have to step up to the plate. After all, most BRI countries don't want to have to turn to China for money. Yet, since the US does not have a strong plan to counter the BRI, these countries have no choice. Therefore, the United States needs to look outwards rather than inwards and create a plan that will allow it to finance at-risk countries so that they don't enter the Chinese sphere of influence. For if America is to be great again, it needs to help other countries financially. If not, China will happily do it for them. If you liked this episode of the Rooster Report, please like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button so that you never miss out on any of our latest videos. Until next time.